Shaman Weaver Sheila Baker here, and tonight I'm going to share with you what 26 and a half years of being free of a soul-sucking job has done for me. And I want to talk about fear and how right now it's being induced in us, and every cell of our body is responding to this. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the physiological effects of fear. And we're going to also, I'm going to give you some information for your left brain, because we're taught that logic rules, and that if it's not logical, then it doesn't make sense and we ought not to follow it. But here's what I believe in my heart of hearts and in my deep knowing. I believe that you cannot think your way through life, but you can feel your way through life. And when everything around you is telling you to be afraid, then what you begin to do, and what every cell of your body begins to do, and the reason that we have so much dis-ease and discomfort and distrust is that we've been trained to listen to our mind and not our heart and not our soul. So I'm going to just drum for a moment while people pop on. So if you're with me, just sit back and relax for a moment. Now, this constant rhythmic drum beat drops your brain into a theta state. Science has proven that. Deep meditators go here, but the thing about deep meditators is it takes them years, and with a constant rhythmic shamanic drum beat, you're able to get there in a number of minutes. So, just for a moment, just take a breath, relax, and know that I hold you in the highest. And tonight we're going to debunk fear. We're going to look at the physiological effects of it and how there's an automatic response that we have that's being trained into us, but we can choose. So we have a reptilian brain, and it lives right back here. And everything that comes in goes through that reptilian brain. And the thing about fear is one of the most crippling emotions that you're going to have. And if you are noticing in your environment in the world right now, we're being infused with fear. So I withdrew from that environment to a different place where that is not my experience. So I can come to you with my experience, talk to you about how it is that you can release that, how you can shut it off, turn it off, disconnect, and how you can choose something different. Hi, Meg. So the have-tos in life, and we were told you have to do this and you have to do that, and you have to do these other things. But when you take a moment and then you use a different word, it's as simple as that. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. So instead of have to, you use choose to. There's a huge amount of freedom in that. So fear is something that's being induced to us by everything that's around us, and that we're afraid of this and we're afraid of that, we're afraid of these people, we're afraid of doing that, we're afraid of having a new experience. So fear is paralyzing. The however is that I'm going to give you some left brain information, because we've been trained to listen to the left brain, the logical, the practical, and to disregard the creative, the intuitive. And we were told as itty bitties that your imagination doesn't count. But I'm going to tell you, your imagination is gateway to the soul. So I've got a few notes over here. So the reptilian brain, for those of us who like science, is part of your subconscious mind. And the thing about the reptilian brain is it doesn't understand anything other than images. And if you look around at the images that are being presented these days, it's it's war, it's fear, it's antagonism, it's polarization. And so we see this, our brain takes it in, and we begin to respond as if that's the truth. But I'm betting in your individual life that you have a lot more love for people and a lot more contentment and joy than you're actually living in. So your subconscious brain, the wants only to keep you safe. And the way that it's going to do that is it's going to curtail your activities. It's going to keep you small. It's going to allow you to think that what you see is real as opposed to what you feel is real. So when we do that, when we look at this reptilian brain and we give it, well, I call it petting the lizard. When we take a moment to let it know that, I feel safe right now. I feel comfortable right now. There is no threat. Then the reptilian brain takes a breath and it backs away. And in that, we then get to be at choice. So also the reptilian brain doesn't learn from its mistakes. It just learns from what it sees, and it's hyper vigilant. It's always on guard. It's probably the best bodyguard that you're ever going to get in your entire life. However, it has certain external triggers. They're not internal. So it acts as a bodyguard that you trust. And then you begin to rely on that. And what happens is it limits your experience of life. So your super, just one second, let me just do this. Your super hyper vigilant defender is out there in front of you guarding so that you don't, you're not allowed to have the experience that you would have if you could just calm it down and settle it down. So on January the 24th, I'm going to do a masterclass about how to calm that hypervigilant reptilian brain that's keeping you small, that's keeping you afraid. And then we're going to find a way to get beyond that, because when you take care of that, when you tell yourself and that brain that, I'm okay, I'm even better than okay, I'm happy. And when you put that at the forefront, and then you find more synchronicities that are making you happy and making you joyous, then even more you get to calm down and being in this place. But that reptilian brain, it never, ever sleeps. Never sleeps. Even in the middle of the night, it will wake you up and you'll be in a panic state. So it's always at the ready. So here's what I want to tell you. Now that I've given you a little of the left brain, now I'm going to bring in the right brain. And I'm going to tell you that physiologically in your body, there is very little difference between the way that the body responds to fear and the way the body responds to excitement. What happens is an automatic response. It's being trained in. So then what we get to do is we get to untrain it. So physiologically, fear and excitement, they make your palms sweaty, your heart races, your mouth gets dry, your eyes dilate. What if you could take that moment when you see something, and rather than just going into that automatic fight or flight response, you could take a breath. You could put your hands on your heart. You could take a nice deep breath, and then you could make a conscious decision. Oh, and what I say, is it a bear or a bus? And if it's neither of those things, then you get to go, I'm feeling some feelings, and I'm going to consciously label those as excitement. It's It's a beautiful place to be where you get to choose how you're feeling. It's not just automatic. And when you come to that place where you do that, well, that's consciousness, right? That's enlightenment. That's spirituality, where rather than being bombarded by the outside world and what it's showing you, that you get to go, oh, is that an illusion that I choose? Is that an illusion that I want to buy into? And when you choose that it's not an illusion that you want to buy into, you have another opportunity to make a different choice. So something comes, you see it, the automatic response is fear. You feel the physiological things in your body, your tummy flaps around, your heart beats faster, your eyes dilate, your palms get sweaty. But when you can just take a breath, when you can recognize that, you know what, I'm in charge of my life here. I don't get to be run by my mind. I get to choose. My soul gets to choose. And it's a more elevated place than allowing your mind. So when you tap into this being conscious and being in the present and taking a breath, then what you can do is you can choose to respond in excitement. And for the most part, 99% of the time, there isn't something to fear, but there is something you can choose to be excited about. And you can unplug. Back in, I think it was 1997 or 1999, I unplugged from television because I realized that what was coming at me was actually making my body feel things that I didn't want my body to feel. And because I'm hypersensitive, because I'm an empath, I began to feel them in my body. And sometimes I would notice I would be watching a movie or I'd be watching something on television and I'd be noticing that I was starting to curl up into a ball. And when I noticed that, I could take a breath and I could go, wait, whatever's going on in that little screen is not happening to me. It's not happening to me. But because it was overwhelming for me, I made a conscious choice to stop watching television. And since that time, I haven't watched. I don't watch the news because when I do that, when I start to engage in that, then I notice that on a cellular level, not just in my eyes and not just in my mind, but on a cellular level, my body begins to respond to that. I feel nauseous. I feel upset. And when I make a choice, I consciously choose to change my focus, because what we know is what we focus on expands. So the more that you give energy to what's going on in the world, not that you're going to be completely ignorant or anything like that, I'm not saying that, but the more of us who take our focus off of the angst and the anger and the distrust and the hatred and turn our focus over here to love and contentment and finding our bliss and making a conscious choice to go, oh, I could be afraid of this, or I could be excited about what I can personally do to affect the world. And your world is, well, your world, you ripple out in the world. And what I believe is that I believe your heart radiates out 360 degrees. So when an idea becomes a thought and you take action on that and you're finding yourself being fearful, you're finding yourself having opinions, you're finding yourself engaging in that, it's a good time to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to take care of my reptilian brain here. I'm going to put my hands on my heart. I'm going to touch this body, this temple that I walk in. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to choose to refocus. And that refocus is on what makes my heart sing. What is my purpose? What is my passion? And how do I create a life of passion, purpose, and prosperity? And when you do it in that way, when you become engaged in your life in that way, and you're conscious about this, then we are going to all feel the effect. Because as you do this, and as you are more joyous and more happy, and you're walking in more contentment and more commitment to your personal life being one of joy and one of bliss and one of purpose and passion. And I got to tell you, we're more addicted to pain than we are to pleasure. And it used to be that we would move away from pain towards pleasure. But we have gotten so used to being in pain in our minds and in our bodies that it's now an act. We have to act on that in order for us to divert our energy to look for the pleasure in life. So I was talking to someone earlier today and I was asking, how are you going to reward yourself for doing this? And they said to me, well, I don't really want to give myself a reward because it's not very big. But if every time we do something itty bitty, we smile at someone, because, that smile might make the difference in that person's day. When you're going on a walk and you see someone and you smile at them, you might have just uplifted their heart. And what I was talking about when I said about this live that I'm doing is that let's move into upliftment. Let's move into joy. Let's move into passion. Let's move into pleasure. So if you go through your whole day and you haven't thought any mean thoughts about anybody and you've smiled at people, give yourself some kind of a reward. Now, for some folks, that's listening to music. For some folks like me, that's going out dancing. The thing that I think is important is don't make food your reward. Food is a need. It's not, and of course, for me, it's quite pleasurable. But when we look for other things to reward ourselves with, then we're not getting into the pattern of feeding ourselves because we've done something wonderful. So maybe it's buying yourself some flowers. Maybe it's taking yourself to a movie. Maybe it's taking yourself on a walk. But find things that bring you joy and divert your energy. If you notice yourself watching something and you feel like you're starting to contract, then refocus away from that. Find more pleasure in your day than you do pain. So fear and excitement, very similar physiological responses. The thing is that there's an automatic in us that we see something, we contract away, and we go, I need to be afraid of that. Now that you know that, here's the thing about knowing something. When you know something, you get to heal it. So now that you know that fear and excitement have the same similar physiological responses in your body, and now you know you've got a way to look at something, clutch your heart, take a moment, take a breath, and make a choice. So that we're not having to be in fear. We're not having to respond to things around us as if they're contrary. And when you understand also, this is a belief that I have, that everything is moving in the direction of enlightenment, of upliftment. It may not look like it in the moment. Maybe we'll make judgments about how uncomfortable, what kind of distress it is, how harmonious it is. But if you hold in your heart that we're moving upward, we're ascending, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it looks like. But when you hold that in your heart, that I'm moving in this direction, and you move in that direction, pardon me, then what's going to happen is that we're all going to move in that direction. So just 1 minute. And as we make this conscious choice to not plug in, to not listen to the news, to not buy into what we're being fed, when we consciously choose to go, I hold love. I hold love. Now, right there is the basis of becoming fearless. When you hold love in your heart, and when you surround yourself, and when you know how to walk in protection, and if you haven't watched my my video on protection, it's on my YouTube channel, so pop over there and watch it, and then put up protection every day and walk in that. When you walk with your spirit guides, your power animals, then what you have is you have the ability to feel comfortable and safe no matter what. So join me on my masterclass. It's January the 24th, and I'll be telling you more about that, where we really dive into becoming fearless, where we dive into being at choice as opposed to, I have to respond in this way. I have to do this. You know, when you give yourself the luxury of choosing, your body starts to drop, your shoulders drop away from your ears, your chest opens, your heart expands, and you can breathe more easily. So, my beautiful enlightened spiritual warriors, thank you for being here. If you're watching the replay, fabulous. And know that, oh, here's another tip for you. On my website, I have a chakra meditation. It cleanses, harmonizes, and balances your chakras. So pop over there and get that. It's about 15 minutes, and at the end you're going to feel so much more calm, so much more relaxed, and so much more at ease that you'll just be well, you'll just be sending love blessings out, and you will notice the difference. So shamanweaver.com, and there's a free chakra meditation. I'll put the link up there as well. And thank you for being here. Now, put your hands on your heart, take a nice deep breath, and know that you can consciously choose whether to be in fear or whether to be in excitement. And until next time, have a fabulous rest of your day, and bring more pleasure into your life. Aho, bye-bye.